the Red Tsar, Sebag Montefiore, is a masterfully detailed account Joseph Stalin's inner circle and the mechanics of power in the Soviet Union during his rule. Published in 2003, this book provides an unprecedented, intimate glimpse into Stalin's personal life and the intricate web of relationships that sustained his dictatorship. Drawing from newly available archives and personal testimonies, Montefiore paints a vivid picture of the men and women who orbited around Stalin, shedding light on the complex interplay of fear, loyalty, and ambition that defined the Soviet leadership. Introduction to the Court. Montefiore opens by dismantling the myth of Stalin as a solitary, enigmatic figure. Instead, he presents Stalin as the center of a vibrant, though perilous, court, a group of powerful individuals who lived in constant proximity to him, sharing meals, vacations, and even family events. However, this closeness came with a price. The members of Stalin's court were subject to his capricious moods, shifting favor, and often deadly purges. The book is structured around the idea that Stalin's regime functioned like a royal court, with the dictator acting as an absolute monarch surrounded by sycophantic courtiers. This framing allows Montefiore to explore the personal dynamics and political machinations that fueled Stalin's reign of terror. The relationships among the key figures, such as Lavrenti Beria, Vyacheslav Molotov, and Clement Voroshilov, are explored in depth, revealing how personal rivalries and alliances influence policy and governance. Stalin's personality and leadership style. Montefiore delves into Stalin's complex personality, portraying him as both charismatic and terrifying. Stalin was known for his sharp wit and ability to charm those around him, but he was also deeply paranoid and ruthless. Montefiore illustrates how Stalin's charm was often a tool for manipulation, enabling him to disarm his subordinates before turning against them. One of the most striking aspects of Stalin's leadership was his use of fear as a tool of control. Montefiore details how Stalin maintained his grip on power through a combination of calculated purges, show trials, and secret police operations. The infamous Great Purge of the late 1930s, during which millions were executed or sent to labor camps, is presented not just as a political maneuver, but as a reflection of Stalin's deep-seated paranoia and desire for absolute control. Despite his brutality, Stalin cultivated a paternal image, often referring to himself as the father of the Soviet people. Montefiore highlights the contradictions in Stalin's persona, how he could be warm and affectionate in private moments, only to order the execution of close friends and colleagues the next day. This duality is central to understanding the psychological grip he held over his court. The Inner Circle, Loyalty and Betrayal. Montefiore provides detailed profiles of the key figures in Stalin's court, offering insights into their backgrounds, personalities, and relationships with the dictator. Vyacheslav Molotov, Stalin's loyal foreign minister, is depicted as a man of unflinching devotion, even as his own wife was arrested and imprisoned during the purges. Lavrenti Beria, the head of the NKVD, the Soviet secret police, is portrayed as both a ruthless enforcer and a cunning political operator, whose ambition and cruelty knew no bounds. The dynamics within the inner circle were characterized by a toxic mix of camaraderie and fear. Montefiore describes how members of the court would engage in drinking sessions, banquets, and even family gatherings, all while knowing that a single misstep could lead to their downfall. The book details numerous instances where close associates of Stalin were suddenly arrested, tortured, and executed, often on fabricated charges. One of the most poignant examples of this is the story of Nikolai Yeshov, the head of the NKVD during the height of the Great Purge. Yeshov, once a trusted enforcer of Stalin's terror, eventually fell out of favor and was executed, a victim of the very machinery of repression he had helped to build. Montefiore uses such stories to illustrate the precarious nature of life in Stalin's court, where loyalty was no guarantee of safety. Family and personal life. Montefiore goes beyond the political realm to explore Stalin's personal life, offering a rare glimpse into his family relationships and private moments. Stalin's relationship with his children, particularly his son Vasily and daughter Svetlana, is portrayed as complex and often strained. Vasily, who struggled with alcoholism and a sense of inadequacy, sought his father's approval but was frequently met with criticism and neglect. Svetlana, on the other hand, experienced both affection and control, ultimately defecting to the West in 1967, a decision that shocked the Soviet establishment. Stalin's marriages are also examined in detail. His first wife, Kato Svanidze, died young, and Stalin reportedly mourned her deeply. His second wife, Nadezhda Alliluyeva, committed suicide in 1932, a tragic event that Montefiore suggests had a profound impact on Stalin's psyche. The circumstances surrounding Nada's death are explored, with Montefiore suggesting that her suicide was influenced by the oppressive atmosphere of Stalin's court and her disillusionment with the regime. Machinery of Terror. Montefiore provides a meticulous account of the mechanisms of repression that sustained Stalin's rule. The book details the role of the NKVD in carrying out mass arrests, executions, and forced labor. Montefiore also explores the use of show trials where prominent figures were forced to confess to fabricated crimes under duress, serving as a public demonstration of Stalin's power. The Great Purge, which reached its peak between 1936 and 1938, is examined in depth. Montefiore describes how Stalin used the purges to eliminate perceived threats within the Communist Party, the military, and broader society. The book highlights the arbitrary nature of the purges, where even the most loyal party members were not safe from suspicion and execution. Montefiore also delves into the psychological impact of the purges on Soviet society. The pervasive atmosphere of fear and distrust led to widespread paranoia, with individuals denouncing friends, colleagues, and even family members in a desperate bid to protect themselves. This culture of betrayal is a recurring theme throughout the book, illustrating how Stalin's regime corroded the very fabric of Soviet society. World War II and the post-war period. Montefiore dedicates significant attention to Stalin's leadership during World War II, examining how the dictator navigated the immense challenges of the conflict. Stalin's initial misjudgment of Nazi Germany's intentions and the disastrous consequences of the German invasion are detailed, as well as his eventual role in leading the Soviet Union to victory. The book highlights Stalin's relationships with other Allied leaders, such as Franklin D. Roosevelt and Winston Churchill, and how these interactions were influenced by his calculating nature and deep mistrust. Montefiore explores the Yalta and Potsdam conferences, where Stalin's strategic maneuvering shaped the post-war order and solidified the Soviet Union's dominance in Eastern Europe. The post-war period saw the continuation of Stalin's repressive policies, with renewed purges and the suppression of dissent. Montefiore examines the infamous Doctors' Plot, a fabricated conspiracy that targeted Jewish doctors and reflected Stalin's increasing paranoia and anti-Semitism in his later years. In the final chapters, Montefiore reflects on the legacy of Stalin's rule and the lasting impact of his court on Soviet and global history. The book concludes with Stalin's death in 1953 and the subsequent power struggle among his successors. Montefiore argues that the culture of fear, betrayal, and repression that characterized Stalin's court left an indelible mark on the Soviet Union, shaping its political landscape for decades to come.